Hello, everybody. Good morning and happy Friday, TGIF, to all of you guys out there. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, and we've slowly been sort of picking apart at the story here that is Colton Underwood coming out of the closet on his Netflix docuseries. And boy, did it enrage some people yesterday when I was sharing some posts on my Instagram about the conversation Colton had with his pastor at a church in Colorado. The pastor basically saying, hey, I think what you're doing is a sin, and we're going to have differencing of opinions on it. And it's kind of tough when someone you look up to as a faith leader says, I don't believe what you're doing is morally right. That's got to be tough. We'll get into all of this. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to do my best. I am not a lawyer, so prosecuting these types of moral issues can be challenging. I'm a comic. I have a degree in business from a state institution, University of Rhode Island. Go Rams, okay? So let's just pump the brakes here. Let's have a discussion. And if anybody throughout this conversation feels the urge to share their opinion, I got the voicemail line open, 401-213-9828. I had a beautiful, nice commenter named Grace say, hey, I feel like you should let other people say what they think about this. And I've always got the voicemail line open. So if anyone wants to call in, 401-213-9828, I welcome people that agree with me. I welcome people that disagree with me. I just ask that in your voicemail, you be as maybe empathetic and graceful as possible. It's not lost on me the irony that someone with the name Grace asked me to open the voicemail lineup, the Grace mail lineup, to other people. So 401-213-9828. You can just screen grab that and call in. Make it only less than a minute. If you have a really good point and you're having a fun time and you're having a good voicemail, you can go longer. But let's just keep it short and tight. Unlike this video, which is going to be a little bit longer. We'll get into all of it. Some more information though. We have the subscriber race of 2021. As you guys know, Nick did not sign up for this, but I'm trying to pass him in subscribers. Probably get to him this week. We're gained another 100 subscribers yesterday. We are 700 behind Nick Vial. So if you enjoy my content, just hit the subscribe button, find that. And also Vlogmas is in full swing. Gingerbread house building live stream today at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've got this gingerbread house. Yeah, I'm kind of cheating. It's kind of like a pre-made kit, but I'm going to be going live. You guys can hang out. I'll be playing Christmas music, and we'll just be hanging out, maybe some spiced eggnog, some spiked and spiced eggnog. Get those cinnamon sticks in there, maybe some coconut whipped cream. Who knows? It might be a party, all right? So 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join me. It's on the Dave Neal Vlog channel. So you got to be a subscriber. It's free. It's free. Okay, this isn't the Patreon. This is a vlog channel. It's free. Some people confuse the two. All right, so we'll get into all that. Yesterday, I made this video where Ben Higgins called Colton Underwood a liar because what Ben said was, it's just a lie. Are you trying to make everyone else look and feel bad? Because Ben said he didn't want to watch Colton's docuseries because Colton said no one supported him. And Ben goes, we supported you. I sent you a book from a Christian man who came out of the closet and told his story. Like, we called you, we texted you, we supported you. And then other people had commented on that video saying, Dave, Colton never said this in the docuseries, which is true. I watched the docuseries. Colton never said only one person supported him, but he did say it, okay? So it's I'm just clearing up some news here. I don't want the show. I don't watch the show. I mean, the only person that I really talk to is Chris Harrison. Chris and I stay in touch. I will say that since Chris was about the only one from the franchise who really reached out and sort of let me know that he was there for me, asking if there's anything he can do. So clearly Colton, and again, maybe Colton got a ton of emails from people and it was overwhelming and he didn't respond to them. Who knows? I've criticized Colton for kind of jockeying himself as a victim here. And in some ways, he is a victim, but jockeying yourself as the victim and being a victim are two different things. Cassie's also a victim. We talk about that all the time. Cassie's a victim of a completely different issue than Colton. Colton's issue is being seen as a sinner within his church, and because of that, trying to pray away the gay, as they say. So if anyone has any issues with what I'm saying, please share your opinion. You can leave it in the comment section, but I would challenge you to not just say something as simple as Dave hates Christianity, or Dave doesn't like Christians, or Dave's got this war against Christians. I feel like that's very vague and sort of, I'll call it low IQ because I think it's way more challenging than that. So reach for that higher IQ there and tell me exactly what you think I feel, or tell me what you feel. when it comes to Christianity, there are millions, hundreds of millions of Americans who identify as Christians, all the way from Catholics. And a lot of Christians will say that Catholics aren't Christians. No, that's a completely different thing. We all have these tribes that we're a part of. So there's plenty of Christians and plenty of Christian churches that are LGBTQ+. There's plenty of different ideologies that one can prescribe to. When it comes to the people I have problems with, it is those that will hide behind biblical verses. Those that will say, well, the Bible says. When's the last time something came good out of, well, the Bible says? Well, we should go hook up and drink some whiskey. Sorry. God's strangling me right now. But the Bible says we should go have a party and, have, whatever. So it's always something that's restricting, right? Because the Bible says things, but it's been interpreted and misinterpreted so many times that a lot of things the Bible says weren't the original written things, right? There's King James, and there's a bunch of different transcriptions coming from the ancient Greek said this, and then the ancient Roman said this, but if you translate this word that way, there's so many different meanings. So to say something as simple as the Bible says, I reject that. I reject the logic that the Bible says something specifically unless we actually address what it says. So in Colton's series that I watched yesterday, because look, I've tried my best to do my research as well, and I try my best to understand what the hell I'm talking about, but it's complicated. There's a lot going on with Colton, right? Because on one end, he is promoting this docuseries that he is gaining from, both in notoriety, monetarily, maybe not right away, but as an influencer, he's gaining big time from this. But at the other time, it's a heartbreaking story. It's truly a heartbreaking story. He said, I was really scared of losing two communities that I belong to. The LGBTQ plus community is one that hasn't always understood religion. And our religious community is one that has not always understood the LGBTQ plus community. I think you need to really live in circumstances where, like for me personally, I'm not gay. I'm a heterosexual white male. I've had friends come out to me that were gay, and I've had them come out to me in times when it might not have been the surest bet. When we were in a fraternity, 15 years ago, New England, conservative town, where they didn't know what I was going to say, and I couldn't believe it. I go, you thought I wasn't going to love you? I don't think what you're doing is a sin. I don't think that you've got any less of a moral high ground than anybody else because of what gender you're attracted to. And it was actually shocking to me when a friend did come out that they were worried that I was the friend they were worried about. And what does that say about me, that you're worried how I'm going to feel? Am I not advocating loudly enough for freedom of sexuality is what it really is. Because when you say something's a sin, hate the sin, not the sinner. When you say something's a sin, you're essentially saying, like, I don't approve of what you're doing, and I see myself as higher up than thou. And with most, I don't think most people feel that way. But in churches, it is easy to be on the inside of those walls and go, we're doing the right thing, we're on the right side of this, and then we can look down on those because we need to save them. And that's kind of a place where I don't feel like Jesus ever wanted other people to be. It duly comes as no great surprise that the first strong objections come from Colton Underwood's church friends and his pastor, who invites him during the show to continue coming to church with the caveat, I would just have a different opinion than you about your story. And look, it's okay for people to have different opinions on different things, right? That's okay. The problem is the pastor, as like a thought leader, as a religious leader, his opinion is weighted very heavily here. How is Colton going to go bend his knee at church? I don't know, the Catholics, we like to take a knee, right? Do you take a knee over there in church? How can he do that knowing that the person who's preaching to him doesn't believe what he's doing? His core being is moral. So I posted this last night. I was watching the docuseries by myself, the dog sleeping next to me. I posted on my Instagram, and I was showing just straight out of Colton's mouth and the pastor on the other end of the line, which I'm believing isn't frankenbitten like a Bachelor show. I'm believing this is their real conversation. And I'm just shocked and heartbroken for Colton that he was a part of a church that was unwilling to, bend on their beliefs and have any grace whatsoever for what Colton was believing. And that enraged all the other members of the gay community that were around Colton. They were like, can you believe this? Can you believe it? And Colton's brother. Colton's brother was great. Colton's brother goes, have you donated to this church? And Colton's like, yeah. And Colton's brother goes, did they give you your money back? And he goes, no. And, this is a church that Colton went to in Colorado. So this wasn't the one he grew up with. This is the one he went to when he had like influence and money. And so maybe Colton did donate a lot of money. Who knows? So balancing that picture are cameos from the queer Christian leaders as Underwood visits Metropolitan Community Church of the Rockies, a Denver outpost of the LGBTQ+. So the church that I have in the thumbnail here, the church behind there is the LGBTQ+ friendly church, not the one that was sort of, I have to say, disowning him. Because here's the problem. As I'm watching this, my jaw's dropping, my jaw's agape, because he's playing basketball with his friends. He just came out to his dad. He just came out to his mom. Everyone he came out to, I was expecting a bigger like embrace. I don't know. I was expecting them to be like, hey man, come on, get in here. We love you. The dad was like, I still love you. The mom was like, I still love you. And I know what they were saying, but it also felt like, I love you even though XYZ. And there shouldn't be an even though. But I understand what they're saying. Well, when it came to Colton's friends from the church, they all kind of like got this body. When he came out to them, they all kind of looked the other way. It felt like some weird, like, accident crime scene. You're like, geez, what the hell just went down there? And the guys go, let's see what the pastor has to say. I'm going to love you regardless, even if we have different things. So they didn't budge at all on where they were based on what the Bible says. Let's see what the Bible says. And to me, when you say anything like, let's see what the Bible says, or the Bible says, or Bible, what you're saying is you're taking away your own critical thinking. And that's what a cult is, right? You're taking away your own. And I'm not saying Christians are cults. I'm saying to people, excuse me, every time I come out with a hard opinion, my throat feels like I'm being strangled. Like it's like Star Wars. What I'm saying is this. You're not a cult if you're a Christian, but you're in a cult if you blindly believe things because other things tell you to believe that. And when we look at the different biblical passages, we just know for a fact that they've been misinterpreted on many occasions. Gay bachelor Colton Underwood says relationship with God is best it's ever been. So the day that the tracking device came out, the TMZ article, the breaking news, we started reporting on it, is when Colton says he felt his relationship with God has been his strongest because I think he was able to separate himself from the church and actually have that one-on-one conversation with God. And I don't know, maybe that's me. Everyone's got a differencing of opinion, but I think that conversation with God is way more important. And I see myself as some would say a Christian because I see a relationship with a higher being. I just see that higher being as being part of all of us. I see all of us as a bunch of ants in an ant farm, vicariously living off of each other's joy and sorrow. So vicariously, if we watch somebody give money to a homeless person, the homeless person receives a bunch of love for receiving the money. The person giving the gift receives a bunch of love because they did a good deed. But the person watching the act, who has no monetary gain whatsoever, feels good as well. And that's vicarious feeling. That's, as a comic, we feel vicarious feelings all the time when we're at a stand-up show watching people laugh and have a good time. We're connecting in a way that's transcendent of what we feel in these meat suits of ours. And to me, the greater God is the connection we all have together. So cancer exists within the evils around society, but the greater humanity is alive and it's reaching new levels of enlightenment, but it's held back by, well, the Bible says 1,000 years ago. Can you imagine that? We're so able to trust these new devices that were created with our new science and technology and everything, but then we go back to this one text that has been interpreted, reinterpreted, misinterpreted for so many centuries. There was no even such word or thing. Gay wasn't a term that even existed when the Bible was written. And what the Bible is it's religious scholars and people that have written stories about what they all believe separately, different gospels that Jesus was all about. And then unfortunately, as we all know, religion has been used to control and divide it through some religions through more fear than others. And I would say any LGBTQ plus, like this church right here, church, would be way more open than a church that divides based on fear, based on sin, based on hell. I don't see that as a motivating factor. I think there was a time in our history where sin, fear, and evil were motivating factors, but I think love trumps that all. I really do. And I think most people agree with me on this. And I do get people that hate it and that unsubscribe and this and that, but I think they have their head in their sand. And I think they're challenged and triggered by me challenging them, because a lot of people in the Bachelor community that my channel is based off of exist in their own sort of cul-de-sac of thought. And we're on the highway here saying, hey, that's not true. Hey, why don't I believe this? And I'm not saying everything I believe is a law, is a fact. I'm just offering differencing of opinions that have triggered a lot of people. So I get people that comment, say, unsubscribing this, unsubscribing that. But on those same days, I get spikes in subscribers saying, oh, this is the real deal. We're having real conversations. The Vatican, Pope Francis says Catholic Church can't blame same-sex marriages because God can't bless sin. This was written this year. And I was surprised. I thought they changed their stance on all this. So when we talk about God as, when we talk about like marriage, in gay marriage, it's really important that gay people feel like they have every single right straight people have. Because if you don't have every single right that a man and a woman have, a heterosexual couple, then do you really feel equal in the eyes of your fellow community? The Defense of Marriage Act was signed in the 90s. And again, this isn't a political issue. People try to make this political. But obviously, I'm showing examples of how Democrats were against gay marriage in our recent history. The idea that, Obama, the Defense of Marriage Act signed in the 90s by Clinton, Obama misled the nation when he opposed gay marriage in 2008, which is even worse. It's actually worse to, he believed that gays should be married, but he misled people to think otherwise to win the vote. And then I guess you could make a moral argument like, well, I needed to get the vote so that I could make the changes. I don't know. That's a little quacky to me. The point being is that even a lot of politicians could care less about two people getting married, but they know their constituencies are kind of like seeped in voting with their religious mindset, that you get people like Trump. And again, I just gave two Democratic examples. So now I'm going to give one that's Trump, who was a Democrat and then switched over to the Republican Party. Okay. Trump, excuse me. Wow. I really am dying over here. Trump clearly is pro-choice. There's no way in the world he's pro-life. I mean, look, he has desecrated the institution of marriage. Okay, folks, so let's just call it what it is. Again, chill out. I just gave two examples, Clinton and Obama, who went against gay rights. Okay, so Trump is seen as one thing, but he knows his constituencies are going to be a hard pro-life constituency, and because of that, he has switched his way of thinking. And politicians are just an example, which is obviously this is separate from the church, but an example of people not willing to bend on what they actually believe because society hasn't been ready to have these conversations. So there's all these verses that people say when they say, oh, check out the Bible. And honestly, I looked at all of them and it was overwhelming. I can't go through all of them. But if you just look at Corinthians 6:9, any consideration of New Testament statements on same-sex acts must carefully view the social context of the Greco-Roman culture in which Paul ministered. Prostitution and pederasty, sexual relationships of adult men with boys, which is obviously illegal in today's world, were the most commonly known same-sex acts. In Corinthians 6:9, Paul condemns those who are effeminate and abusers of themselves with mankind, as translated in the King James Version. Unfortunately, some new translations are worse, rendering these words homosexuals. Recent scholarship unmasks the homophobia behind such mistranslations. The first word, malakos, in the Greek text, which has been translated effeminate or soft, most likely refers to someone who lacks discipline or moral control. The word is used elsewhere in the New Testament, but never with reference to sexuality. So we look at words being misused, and there are plenty of people, and look, you guys, it's okay. I'm not shaming you. If someone's watching this and saying, hey, I didn't realize that homosexual wasn't the original word used in the Bible, that's okay. That's okay if you didn't realize that. It's all about growth. I'm not here condemning anyone if they change their opinions. That's another issue I have with politics, where when people change their opinions, we go, you flip-flopped on that. Yeah, it's called growth. I've been wrong about certain things. Clearly, I'm going to get something wrong in this video right now. I'm at 19 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. So my point being is that we can't, I reject the idea that we just, if the Bible says this, there was this guy, I'm trying to find this last clip here, but this, and there, I don't have too much to say about this, but if you ever watch Queer Eye, I was just relegated to tears when I saw Bobby explaining why he didn't want to enter that church in season 2. there was this moment where this guy, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, maybe they just call it Queer Eye now, which is a handful of, it's like they're the gay Avengers, right? This guy does the food, this guy does the style, this guy does the hair, they got the swag, they got the whole thing, right? There was a moment where he said he would not go into a church, and he refused to go into that church because to him, that church represented hate. That church represented his childhood, where people were telling him he was a sinner just because he felt a different thing on the inside, and he refused to go in. Now, the leaders of that church rejected the feelings he was having because they knew they weren't that church. And they said, you are welcome in here. We are not that church that you hate. We are not that church that you fear. We are not that church that condemned you. And then somewhere in that episode, he goes into the church. And you can feel the burden lift off him from this world that didn't believe in him, this world that saw him as a sinner. And that world dissipated because of the kind, unconditional acts of the members of that new church's community. And that's what we need more of in life. That, to me, is a follower of Jesus and a true Christian, somebody who's willing to accept others, not despite of their sins, but just because they're another beating heart. And the idea that people hide behind is like, well, just because I think homosexuality is a sin, I think I'm a sinner. I sin here. Jesus says we all sin. It's different. It's just different when you are saying homosexuality is a sin. I reject that line of thinking, and I reject those that hide behind the Bible in ways where their own ignorance doesn't let them open up their eyes to what they actually should be believing, which is unconditional love, loving your neighbor. And by neighbor, we mean the people that we know that are next to us and the people that we don't know. So that means the people that you meet in your everyday life and your family. And that means breaking down a lot of tribal boundaries. That means loving someone of a different political party. That means loving someone who's maybe not legally an American. That means loving a felon. That means loving all these other people and appreciating that if you share that love with them, you might open up doors that will allow them to share love with you and others, and the world might be a better place. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And if you guys want, you can call the voicemail number. I posted it earlier. Here it is, 401-213-9828. More content coming your way. Vlogmas tonight. We're making gingerbreads, baby. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.